Good evening, everyone. We're here with Kayziah and Kayandra, and we've been promising you guys a health nugget for a while. This is not how the health nugget is going to look after today, but we decided we're going to share some of the tips we have on being clean. Our mother is a very clean person, and she's taught us how to be
Very
clean.
cleanly.
Yes, how to keep our rooms clean, how to clean the bathroom properly, the kitchen, etc. So we're going to share with you some of the things we've learned growing up concerning being clean and to help keep germs out of the house. Well, not just the house, but the most vulnerable places, let's say, right? So we're going to be talking about cleanliness in the kitchen, and also just general tips for dealing with the protection you use during this time of COVID-19. So, so first off, we're going to start with the kitchen, and our first tip is the universal tip that everybody is taught: wash your hands. Whenever you get into the kitchen, wash your hands. And not just when you're not just at the beginning. If you go and you touch your phone, wash your hands before you put your hands back in food. If you
Touch anything outside of the
outside
kitchen.
the kitchen,
Come back, wash
yes,
your hands.
anything that has not been cleaned for making food, you must wash your hands, because otherwise you're transferring germs from place to place inside your kitchen, and then it gets inside the food, and you don't want that to happen. So, the first tip: wash your hands whenever you're in the kitchen, before you start cooking, during, if you touch other things, and certain things like eggs, for example. If you get your hands in the eggs, wash your hands.
And to piggyback off of that, the next thing is hand towels. Now, when you're cooking, you don't want to take the same hand towel that you constantly dry your hands in and then go back into the food, because you're also transferring germs. So when you're cooking and you have to wash your hands, use a paper towel. Just make sure you clean, wash your hands well, and then clean in between, and then throw out the paper towel and continue.
Yes, and I should mention that when you're washing your hands for the kitchen, now, some people might kill me for saying this, but please don't misunderstand me. When we're like, if you go to the bathroom and you give it a quickie and you come out or something, I'm not gonna pardon you, but when it comes to the kitchen, you gotta make sure that you do your ABC, sing happy birthday, and wash every section of your hands, under your nails, in the missed places. I saw someone post about the parts of the hand that are commonly missed. So make sure you get all those places when you're washing for food, because it's things that people have to consume. People with weak immune systems, it will cause them to get sick. So that's make sure you wash your hands thoroughly. Next on the list is well, this is just kind of like a family preference. It's not mandatory, but for us, we usually have 3 hand towels on the stove. One was for hands, one was for dishes, and one was for taking stuff out of the oven. We're Caribbean folk, and we've never really been big on oven mitts. So it's been like hand towels where the things you rest hot stuff on. I don't remember what those are called, but that's what we usually use to take stuff out of the oven. So we usually have 3 hand towels on the
Stove handle.
on the stove handle. Why 3 hand towels? And why, as she just talks about paper towels, why do we have a hand towel for hands? Now, we love our planet, so less paper towels we use is the better. So if you're leaving the kitchen, right, you've finished beating the eggs or whatever, and you wash your hands, you can dry your hands on a hand towel, because you're not going back into food if you're going to leave the kitchen. So have that hand towel there for that purpose. If you want to limit the amount of paper towels, as much as possible. And what we used to do is, if we used hand towels for our hands, and just for that, like not for wiping up things, there was we had a rack in the kitchen where, and we'd rest paper towels that had been used on that, on the lower level. Why? Because we had little children and clumsy children as well. And
Everything was spilling.
yes.
So the ones that we used for our hands that weren't used to clean spills, but they weren't necessarily dirty or just to dry our hands, we put them on the rack. So when somebody spills something, you reuse those paper towels to just clean up the mess and then throw it out when you're done.
Right. Yeah. So then, so I touched on all the different types of hand towels.
Now we'll touch on the different types of cloths. Now there will be we usually use two kitchen cloths. One is for wiping down counters, and the other one is for wiping down the table and placemats and stuff like that. Because usually when you're in the kitchen, you make a mess, you have food on the counter and stuff like that, you clean it with the kitchen food towel then. And the one you have, the table, is usually just placemats and stuff, so it doesn't, like the one will be more to disinfect, one is just to clean up then.
Yes.
So that's why we have two.
And just to I don't want to say correct, but there was something she said. You said towel instead of cloth.
Sorry,
Yeah.
cloth.
Yes. So just don't want to mix you up because the cloth,
Kitchen cloth and
yeah.
kitchen towels, two
two different things. Yes.
Kitchen towels bigger.
One is wet and one is dry. Next is body prep. So, actually no. Well, you can go ahead with body prep.
Yeah, so when you're coming into the kitchen, there are certain things you have to do before you get there. If your hair is long and you know it's usually getting into things, you want to pull it back. And if you have a hairnet, you can put in a hairnet.
Or, what do you call the shower cap?
Or a shower cap.
Yeah.
And also, if you're cooking, if you're going into the kitchen and grab a snack, that's different. But if you're going to cook, your nails should be cut because a lot of bacteria is behind and underneath your nails. So you want to make sure you have those cut and trimmed.
Yes, especially if you're going to be kneading dough, like it's absolutely critical to make sure that your nails are clean and short. Touching on soap now, it's okay to have two types of soap in your kitchen. You usually have two types of soap, one for dishes and one for hands, because you don't want to waste the kind of like disinfecting soap for dishes and stuff on people's hands. And also, usually dish soap is harsh on hands. You know, your hands get really dry. So have a soap in the kitchen for washing your hands and one for doing dishes, etc. Now, we're going to go into the aspect of like while you're cooking your food. Now, I hope please don't take offense. We're just trying to make sure that when we prepare food and when we present food to people, that it's as clean as possible. So when it comes to tasting your food, the way we taste our food is we have a spoon. We'll dip the spoon into whatever it is, whether it's soup, sauce, even if it's macaroni. Dip it into whatever it is you're cooking. Bring it up, blow on it gently. You don't want to blow so that you're spitting onto the spoon. Blow gently and kind of like knock it into your hand. Like if you can do it without the blowing, praise God. But you knock it into your hand and you taste it from your hand, wash your hand. If you're going to put your mouth on the spoon, you need to go and wash the spoon because whatever germs... See, here's the thing about COVID-19, right? People can pick it up and then it doesn't manifest itself until like, let's say 3 days after, right? Don't quote me on this, but this is my understanding. I don't have all the details in my head. But basically, it takes a while for it to manifest in our body. So imagine you're on day 2 after you picked it up and you don't know, how is COVID-19 spread? By coughing, by basically saliva. So if you taste the spoon and then you put it back in the food, what happens now? You've just infected whoever was going to eat that food with COVID-19, right? Especially if you weren't going to be, like if it was before, it would pass because it would get boiled out. But if it's after and you just tasted the food after it's been cooked, then
You definitely infected them.
yeah. So when you're tasting your food, walk it into your hand, taste it, wash your hands.
Or not taste it and put the spoon
in the sink or wash it. Like get a new spoon, please. talking over them. Oh, and when you're cooking, and usually this is for moms and for siblings. Yes. You will have people coming through your kitchen, and they will want to talk to you. If you're
Or you could be cooking with people.
or you could be cooking with people. If you're stirring something, or you have food in front of you and you need to talk, try turning your head because you don't want anything. You don't want any spit falling from your mouth into the food. You don't want any bacteria to land in your food. So if anybody comes and they want to talk to you, just make sure you turn to address them, and that will save on a lot of stuff. Okay. All right. So our next point is about fingers. Now, it can be very tempting. I know it's tempting for me when they're making icing or
ice cream
or cookies, cheese. Oh my goodness. Y'all don't kill me for cheese, but honestly,
cheese.
I had a thing about cheese that whenever cheese was being grated,
She'd stick her hand in it and then
not
what?
stick
Not
stick my hand in it. I would take it.
Same thing.
but it's a bad thing in our family that used to happen. Like whenever we're grating cheese,
You had to keep an
you're
eye on
grating cheese, and it's like, okay, I got about a cup there. You come back and you got 3/4 cup. It's like,
Yeah.
we got a whole bunch of mice in our family. But if you're gonna chase things, like I said before, wash your hands after you do it. And if you're gonna dip your finger in something, make sure you wash your hands before, that your hands are clean.
And
It's
don't
imperative.
double dip. No, don't double dip. Let's go. No, don't double dip. No.
Come on.
Double dip. No.
Then stuff in your kitchen. Now this is a real problem nowadays, especially with phones. People don't clean their phones as they should, and then their phones end up in the kitchen, among other things. Now my mother, we mentioned, is very particular about cleanliness, and there are quite a few things that you cannot do in her kitchen. But one thing is you never mix. For example, Mom had a set of knives, and a scissors. A pair of scissors came with the knives. I really can't talk.
Yeah.
And
Those are the kitchen scissors.
yeah,
They do not
very
leave the
good,
kitchen.
very good scissors. But my dad would get into serious trouble because he would take Mama's scissors, and I won't say what he did with them, but sometimes he'd take Mama's scissors, and that is a no-no because this scissors is used to cut, let's say, a bag of split peas or a bag of rice. It's
Or just cutting up some vegetables.
Yeah.
Lettuce.
You use these scissors in the kitchen, so you don't want to have things that are not for the kitchen in the kitchen. If you have scissors that are used for, let's say, tools in the garage
or arts and crafts,
you don't want to
put
have
them in
that
the
scissors in the kitchen. That's one thing. Two, don't bring personal items that you're gonna want to touch over and over, like your phone. People go and they have their phone playing while they're cooking in the kitchen, so then they touch their phone, and then they go and they're dealing with bread or
Just any food.
anything. So try not to bring personal things into the kitchen or things that don't belong in the kitchen. Mom would always have, when you come in the house, put your jacket in the closet, if you were working that day, take your
Work clothes off.
work clothes off.
Put on some home clothes.
Yes, Mom and Dad were always
Nothing
religious about that. Whenever they came in the house with their work clothes, they would take it off and hop in the shower, and then Mom would come in the kitchen and Dad would do the things that he had to do around the house. So you want to avoid having things that have been outside or in dirty areas in the kitchen. Okay? So let's move on to the next section. Oh, okay, well actually let's touch on the vegetables first, and then we'll get into, and the cleaning of groceries. So you go ahead first.
So when the vegetables are in the store, they do spray some things on it just to keep the bugs off and all different bacteria. So when you bring those vegetables and those fruits into your house, you need to clean them, wash every single thing that you can.
Especially if it wasn't properly cleaned before they sprayed those
Yes.
things on. Like if there's dirt and stuff like that.
You need to clean it. The only one I would refrain from is bananas.
Oh yeah, you don't need to clean
Don't
stuff like
wash your
bananas and oranges.
If it's green bananas, sure, but if it's regular bananas, no. But make sure you clean them. If you have an apple, you know it has a little dip on the top. You need to just clean inside there, just so there's nothing in there because it's a hole, so it pulls up. Just make sure everything's clean and put away properly.
Yes. One thing we would do sometimes is fill one. We had 2 sinks in our kitchen, and we would fill one sink with water
And vinegar.
and then we put our plates on there to soak in there. Yeah, so just ensure that they're clean. As we are dealing with COVID-19, I know some of you might have seen the articles about kids going in stores and coughing on things, and people just being disgusting with coughing and sneezing. I remember one time my mom went to the store, and this lady was in the store, and she was just sneezing without covering her mouth. And it was my mom.
No, my mom was dead. My mom was.
She went around the store. She's just like, this lady's just coughing and sneezing on everything, and she's not covering her mouth.
And you're there, and you're a kid, and you're just like,
no, not this time. It was hilarious to hear the story. But when you go to the grocery store and you buy your stuff, or even not just groceries, anything that you buy, as we are living in the days of COVID-19, when you bring things into your house, clean them. Like everything that has to do with food, if it can be washed, we wash it, or wipe it down with wipes, we clean it, because you never know who touched the outside, and then you go, you open it, and you touched it to open it, then you put your hand on the inside. So make sure you clean it before you use it, and that includes bottles, because for example, like malts, you know how malt are in those glass bottles. The cap only covers like this much, and then after that, depending on the kind of person you are, your mouth might reach even further down on the neck of the bottle, and that's disgusting. So make sure you clean it before you
and rinse the top of your pop cans and stuff.
Rinse the top of your pop cans and your juice box
and your regular cans, like your can of beans, your can of
clean the top. Always clean those. So before you go and use a can opener on it, you make sure you wash. Like you can use a cloth, or you can wash it, like rinse it under the water, and then open it. Yes, because the germs,
lots of stuff.
Bless God. And let's see, one more for this section. Let's do outside clothes and shoes.
Okay, so in this COVID-19 time, when you enter the house from outside, your automatic reaction is shed everything. Just everything off. If you're in the cold, we're in the hot, so we don't have jackets. But if you're in the cold and you came from outside, you have on a jacket, take your jacket off.
Basically, everything that was touched by the outside. Like if you have on undergarments, you can keep those on. But when it comes to like
shoes stay at the door.
Yeah.
If they can stay outside.
I know Canadians, at least most of them, or the ones we know, take off their shoes before they go in the house. But for Americans, like we've seen that, it's normal to wear your shoes inside the house. But
don't wear them at this time. Just leave them at the door.
Because you never know.
You never know what you'll bring in your house. I don't know what she's laughing at, but
I'm laughing at our dear mother.
Oh.
Okay, so Mom's saying is, people hawk and spit on the ground, and then you walk in those shoes and you come in my house.
Yeah, so
and it's even more true for now, because that's how it's spread, and you go, you walk in that stuff, you come. I'm sorry for those of you who are being mentally scarred. And but
yes, leave your shoes.
Leave your shoes at the door. Don't come in the house with the shoes, especially for your dear babies.
Yeah. So make sure all your outer clothes, they need to come off. And if you can, if you could just take a quick shower, if you can, if you got exposed, because as we're in t-shirts and stuff, your arms are exposed and your legs are exposed. So if you can, you could just take a quick shower, just get a rag and just wipe down everything, face cloth, and just wipe down everywhere that's exposed. And if you could change it to some home clothes, that would be even better, so that you don't have any contamination whatsoever.
Yeah. All right. Lastly, we're going to talk about
Corona etiquette.
Corona etiquette.
That's the thing.
So, first is mask etiquette. I should have brought a mask as a.
Would you like me to go get a mask?
You can run and get a mask. So, people. I wish y'all could have seen that. That was a great run. People wear their masks. Now, though the mask will not protect you from, well, that's what they say, it will not protect you from people who have the virus, but at the same time, it helps protect people if you have the virus.
I'm back.
So,
There's this
thank
mask.
you. Now, you may say that you don't have it. You may not have it, but like I said earlier, that it can remain in the body without manifesting itself for quite a few days. So imagine if you had it and you didn't know, or that your immune system was so good that you didn't really have any symptoms. Then you cough and the germs fly, and then someone gets it, right? And they might think they never came into contact with somebody who had it until days later when they found out you had it. So, these masks were made by my auntie. So, shout out to Auntie Jillian. If you need a mask, contact Auntie Jillian. But
Sorry, Auntie Jillian. Orders are coming.
Love ya. Well, basically, when you put on your mask, right, and you have it on, the sad thing that people do, right, is they play with their mask. I'm just going to hook it in my bun so I don't have to keep it on. But they'll put on their mask, right? And then, whoops, my bad. I am still failing at this. Sorry, guys.
I'm not saying anything.
She's laughing at me in her head.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see. And so, you wear their mask, and then you see them take it off, and they'll touch here, right? And then,
What she's saying in English is when people, they put on their mask and then they touch here.
and then they'll touch their face, or they'll touch their phone, and then they'll touch you. With you, like, you have to be mindful of the actions that you make. If you are, like, you can't be touching up the mask on the outside and then touching it up on the inside. You have to make sure that when you take it off and you put it on, you take it off and put it on the right way. Like, don't be touching this side. Put it on, take it off, and try not to mess with it as much as possible, because the more you mess with it, the higher your chances of getting
And also,
infected.
if you do not have a mask, but you happen to have a bandana. Now, first thing you do is you fold it in half.
And I'm sure some of you have seen this.
And then hold your hands open.
Yep.
Then you fold it in half again.
Right?
Now, for you ladies and for you men, thank you, women. Just thank you, women. You need some elastic bands, well, or scrunchies. I don't know exactly what you guys call it.
We call them scrunchies.
You might have to hold it up so they can see.
Sure.
And you put one on this side, one on this side.
And you bring it down to like about the width of your face, front of your face, not your whole face.
Then you fold this part in. And fold that part in. You have your mask.
Put it over. 1, 2.
If you wear glasses, it's a lot harder, but
Yeah, take off your glasses before you do this.
yeah, I'm just being lazy.
She said, I'm just being lazy just to have it on record. She said it.
Yes.
All right. So now we'll move on to hand sanitizer.
When you do your hand sanitizing, make sure you put enough. Don't put too much.
Yeah.
Don't put enough. You start off. Make sure you get in between here. Make sure you get your thumbs, because usually we miss our thumbs, and also get the top of your nails. And also your palms. Even here, we usually miss here. Get your wrists
Mm-hmm.
and make sure it's dry.
Yeah. Don't just go, okay, it's dry. It's not dry yet. And like, make sure you rub it to the point that it's dry. And lastly, gloves.
I don't have those.
Yeah. It's okay, don't worry about the gloves. Usually people, like, we wore gloves when we were flying to Grenada just to be on the safe side. And like, you don't really think about it until you're wearing the gloves. Okay, I can't touch this, can't touch that unless I do this and that. When you take off your gloves, pull them off from the fingers. Don't turn them inside out, because when you turn them inside out, then you have to turn them back in, and it's kind of tough when you have one glove on, one glove off, and you're like trying not to touch this side with the clean hand and this side with the glove.
And for that, when you're taking off, take off, if you're right-handed, take off your left glove first. If you're left-handed, take off your right glove first. You take it off, this one, you take off on the outside. This one, since your hand is clean and no longer has a glove, you push underneath. Don't touch the outside, touch the inside because your hands are clean.
Yep. And just remember that when you touch something, you need to make sure that you don't, like with the gloves on, if you're touching stuff, make sure you're mindful of what stuff has been touched by your gloves. Because if you touch your phone with your gloves and then you go to use your phone later without gloves, you need to clean your phone. So just be mindful of how you use those things. But this basically concludes all of our tips for now on
How to be cleanly in this time.
yes. We're not doctors. We're just some young ladies who have been taught a lot about being clean and being mindful of like what you touch and how your process of doing things. So we hope that this helps you guys, and it will at least open your eyes to some of the things that oh yeah, I sometimes miss that, like how when you wash your hands in the sink that you touch the faucet with a hand you just clean it like.
Didn't I just clean my hands?
And I touched the faucet with my dirty hands before. Yeah.
Yes.
We hope that.
Use you.
But we hope that there's some of the stuff that we've shared, even if you knew some of this, that maybe some of the stuff that we said along the way will open your eyes to some other things that you didn't think about before. But yeah, this is your health nugget for this week, and hope you enjoyed it. Love you guys. God bless you.
Bye. Keep safe.